What's up, gang? Welcome back to Day Drinking with Bilbo. This is episode 10, and today is going to be a strange pairing because we're pairing alcohol with sour candies. These are little sour octopus. Oh, can you see that? There you go. And the reason we're doing this pairing is because A, I love sour candy. It is my favorite candy on the planet. Ask anyone that knows me. But B, I've actually gotten requests to do an alcohol pairing with sour candies in the past. So I thought, why not make it one of these videos for you guys? So what we're going to pair with our sour candy is gin, tequila, and bourbon. So 3 different alcohols. Now, if you don't have gin, tequila, and bourbon at your house, maybe you've got 2 of them, go ahead and pair the 2. A good substitute for the gin would be vodka. A good substitute for the tequila, you could substitute rum for tequila in this case, and I think I would go with a spiced rum though. And then a substitute for the bourbon would be any other type of whiskey would be okay. You know my feelings about Japanese whiskey though. Just remember that. Okay. So, as always, we will sip the alcohol first. In my case, I'm going to go light to dark. So we're going to start with our gin. And if you remember, this is one of my favorite gins on the planet here. That was terrible. Gin is very floral, and that's because of the juniper in it. And if you're not aware, you are now. Sour juniper is not something you ever want to taste. Don't do that ever again. Real quick though, shout out for this gin. This is Phi Gin. It is made in the beautiful state of Hawaii on the island of Maui. It's made by Hawaii Sea Spirits, who also does the ocean vodka that you've seen me sample on here before as well. If you're ever on Maui, the distillery is located up country on your way up to Haleakala. And you can do a little tour. They'll walk you around the farm grounds there, the sugarcane fields and stuff. And then they walk you into the factory. It's very educational. And then you do this tasting at this outdoor bar. And you get to sample, if memory serves, it's 3, it might be 4. There's very, very strict tasting laws in the state of Hawaii. Like, very, very strict. Almost silly strict, in my opinion. But they're pretty cool, and they'll tell you everything you want to know. And then you get a free shot glass to take home from there. I'm not using it today, but you've seen me use it on here before. It's that double, that tall one. But they have vodka, they have rum, they have gin, and it's all distilled right there, right? Super delicious, so give that a check next time you're out on Maui after this whole quarantine business is done. We're going to take a little sip of our water here. I was hoping that talking for a little bit after that would get rid of that god-awful flavor in my mouth. Now, we're going to move on to tequila. Now, something you should know about me and tequila. I don't do this. I'm not a tequila shooter. I was about 15 years ago. And I was hosting a party at my home. And my best friend came over. And she and I did tequila shots before the party even started. I think we did 7 of them. And then we were playing beer pong all night. And, by the time people got there, I was pretty good to go. And I ended up passing out at my own party and falling asleep for about 4 hours at my own party. So I don't do tequila shots per se. But I'm going to sip it now in order for me to do this pairing. And I do that. I've gone to tequila distilleries down in Mexico and done sips like this. But I'm not I'm not a lemon and salt on the wrist kind of guy, okay? Doesn't mean I don't like a good margarita. Okay. Better than the gin. So, tequila, first off, I'm using Kirkland brand. And let me say real quick, Kirkland brand alcohol is pretty tasty. Most of it is distilled in a an upper end distillery that you recognize. For example, I know for a fact that their vodka is Grey Goose. It's the same distiller as Grey Goose. It just doesn't have the Grey Goose name on there. And it might be distilled one less time or something. It does have to change slightly. But don't knock Kirkland brand booze. It's really, really tasty. And as far as tequilas go, this one right here is one of my absolute favorites from Kirkland. Yes, from Kirkland. And I've had some really expensive tequilas. I've had tequila straight out of the barrel in Mexico, at where it's actually made. So when I say that the Kirkland brand is a tasty tequila, you can take that to the bank. It really, really is. And you're paying half the price. You know what I mean? So give that a shot. Okay, back to this pairing. So, when I told you that the gin did not at all go with the sour candy because you had this conflicting flavor going on in your mouth between the herbal juniper and the sour, sugary kind of bite. The tequila, because tequila is sweet. Now, sweet and sour go great together. And that was actually really, really yummy. It makes me almost remember like a sour margarita. You know what I mean? When you go to a good restaurant, a good Mexican restaurant, they're making a real good margarita where they're making their mix fresh for you, and they just put that little too much lime juice in there, but it gets you right back here. You know what I'm talking about, back in the jaw here? That's what that reminded me of. That was a really tasty, yummy, sour margarita. Definitely a good combo and definitely something I would try again. Little quick note about tequila. I don't want to get too much into tequila because eventually I've been asked to do tequila pairing classes private in the house later in the year, and I don't want them watching this and kind of getting a bunch of information ahead of time. But just one little fact, in order to actually be called tequila, much like champagne, it has to be made in Tequila, Mexico. That's a province. Champagne is sparkling wine if it's not made in Champagne, France. Now, I did hear a rumor that rule was changing and you can now call it champagne outside of Champagne, France. So don't quote me on that. I didn't look it up before I started filming this. But tequila, to actually be called tequila, has to be made in tequila. So that being said, I have a whole head full of facts about tequila for a future pairing class, but I don't want to give away the barn here. Real quick, give away the barn. That's a phrase I got from a colleague and friend named Karen. She used to be my stage manager for 20 plus seasons when I was at the Hall. But what we used to say when we'd have rental clients come in, we would do everything we could to make their show great. To be kind and courteous and be good hosts. And we want them to obviously come back and rent the theater, and we like producing great quality content. But we don't want to give away the barn. You want to, be nice to people, but don't give everything away for free. Little tidbit about me and Karen. Shout out to you, Karen. All right, moving on to bourbon. We know this is my favorite drink. We don't know if it's going to go with sour candy. Because while I have eaten sour candy and while drinking bourbon, I've never thought about it as a pairing. I'll usually eat the sour candy, let it sit for a minute before I sip the bourbon, right? I'm going to just get another sip in there. Okay. This might be the weirdest combo I've ever said or ever tried, and the strangest thing I'm about to say about a pairing. I enjoyed taking a bite of the candy after having the bourbon. I did not enjoy the bourbon after taking a bite of the candy. Now, what I mean is that bourbon has this tendency to kind of coat your palate because it's a little sweet and it's a little sharp, a little woodsy, right? Bourbon's delicious whiskey. And then when you take in that sour candy, it kind of mellowed out the sour and brought out some of the sweetness in the candy. That was a really nice bite of candy. But then when I took that next sip of bourbon, they were fighting each other. So I still had that sweet and that sour all over my palate. And then the bourbon was like, nope, I'm here. And they fought. Not as bad as the gin fought it, but they still fought. So if I was sipping, I could easily take a drink of my whiskey and then have a sour candy, and then not take another drink of my whiskey until I'd finished eating the sour candy and let it kind of go down again. Of the three, I think it's pretty obvious. My favorite pairing was definitely the tequila with sour candy. And I honestly, going into this, did not remotely think that would be the case. I feel a little weird saying it now even, but that was super yummy. And man, I think I might have to make a margarita tonight with dinner. That was really tasty. I got to figure out how to blend the sour candies, though, right? Thanks so much for being here. As always, we're in this quarantine thing together, so remember to wash your hands. If you have to be near other people, stay 6 feet apart at least. And, if you can avoid it, please don't go out. Just stay home. Be safe, shelter in place, watch a movie, have a drink, play a game, spend time with the people you live with, and, look for the bright side. It's going to come back eventually, right? I know personally I've had every event cancel through the end of May, and the June ones are starting to go too. Weddings are canceling all the way into July already because it takes time to plan a wedding, and if we can't go do tastings and things like that right now, then we're never going to be able to catch up, even if this was to end in 2 weeks. There's not enough time to do an early July wedding right now and still get in tastings and fittings and site visits and that kind of stuff, right? So this is going to have an effect that goes beyond when the quarantine actually ends. But if we all stay positive and work together, then eventually we're all just going to get back to this normal, whether it's a new normal or the old normal. But, we got to hang out together and try to make it through it. But I do definitely hope before the end of the year to do at least 2 live pairing classes, because I do miss doing those. And again, they are way more in depth than these videos are. You get 5 pairings, 5 alcohols, 5 meals prepared, or 5 bites rather, prepared, whatever it might be. Some of the ones we've done are whiskey and barbecue, whiskey and bacon, beer and Girl Scout cookies, wine and cupcakes, some private ones I've done are whiskey based usually because everybody loves whiskey. But I've done barbecue in the home. I've done just cooked plates, small bites is what I call them. We've done cider and small bites. Just so many different classes. There's so many options. So I hope to see you at one in the future. And I thank you for watching these dumb videos I'm producing for you guys. Have a wonderful day. Thanks again.